welcome to this webinar. My goal today is, not to share those boring taxation jargons. My goal is actually to help you understand, how can, as a professional, how can you save tax smartly, at the same time, maximize your returns, maximize your investment. That is ideally the goal for that. Ideally, should be the goal for everyone. Okay, so let's start. Just a moment, please. Okay. All right, guys. So I would keep this very interactive. Just a moment. Just a moment, guys. There's some problem. Just a moment.
For the meantime, anyone who has question related to taxes, ITR, like the man is here, so you can obviously drop a lot of questions in the chat section, and we'll assist you at the end of the webinar with all these questions that you have on how to save taxes, what investments are right, and everything. So yes, make sure you add a lot of questions in the chat box itself, or you can send it personally to Tanuj. Yeah.
All right. Okay. For everyone, right? Like all of us, what is that number one goal that we want to achieve? Like, what is that number one financial goals that all of us all we want to achieve? I would like to see your comments in the your response in the comments. Right? It is basically to minimize tax liability and maximize wealth. Right? That ideally should be, that ideally should be the focus of everybody. Anybody who is saving taxes, anybody who is paying taxes, you really need to understand what are the ways and what are the what are the different forms of investments and tax saving mechanisms and tools that we can use to become financially free, at the same time save tax. So that is exactly what we are going to cover today. A quick introduction about myself. In addition to what Unnati said, I think she covered the most part. I am a chartered accountant by profession, practicing for the past 10 years. I'm a co-founder of Cat and Company Chartered Accountants. Professional Pundits is another baby of ours, which will be coming very soon. An alumni of Deloitte and EY, and a certified forensic accountant. Mutual fund are subject to market risk. Oh, I'm sorry. Please, this is a small disclaimer. Everybody, please go through. So basically, we will. It's just about saying that this is not a consultation, and the Income Tax Act as on date is what is covered. I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so what are the objectives from this session? We will be covering 3 methods of minimizing tax saving options from your salary structure that is mostly unused, how buying a house can help you save tax and make wealth, tax savings through investing, tax savings through essentials, other deductions, uh, tax slabs, old and new. This is the biggest question right now. Should we follow the new tax regime or the old tax regime? We will cover that. And my golden rules, which helped me quit my job and start my own firm 3.5 years back by becoming financially independent. And we'll end with a Q&A session.
Sounds
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So what are the methods for minimizing tax? There are ideally 3 methods that generally everybody uses to minimize tax. Some of them are legal, some of them are illegal. However, being professionals, we need to understand what are the legal ways and what are the illegal ways. This will give you a base as to, if this will give you a base if whatever you do, whatever you do with your finances, this will help you understand if you are doing something right or something wrong. Even when you are filing your return, this will give you an understanding. So let's move on to them. So these are called tax planning, tax evasion, and tax avoidance. So tax planning is basically, the allowances and deductions which are provided as per the Income Tax Act. The Income Tax Act is ourselves telling us that, you use this, you use HRA, you use Section 80C deductions. Uh, the goal of tax planning is ideally to ensure tax efficiency. It is part of an overall financial plan. Tax planning should not be looked at independently. This has to be part of your overall financial plan. And everything we do under tax planning is legal. Tax evasion. So tax evasion is something that, uh, uh, by concealing. So for example, when you are filing your ITR, a lot of people, what they do, and I have seen this myself, being in this field for a long time, I have seen it. People actually, misrepresent certain information. For example, your PPF, PPF, they have paid 10,000 rupees, but in the return they will show 25,000. HRA, you don't have any bills, but you claim it entire HRA. Now this is illegal. However, there are ways by which you can do it. You can. So, for example, if you talk about HRA, there are other ways, by which you can plan it accordingly. This is illegal. Any tax evasion is illegal. If the government gets to know, you are in trouble. The penalty ranges from 100% to 300% plus the amount of tax that is evaded, plus the interest portion. And the government will haunt you throughout your life. So it is very important to understand to never to do tax evasion. Next is tax avoidance. So tax avoidance is more from a company perspective, people who have business income, wherein they, I mean, a lot of times, you explore loopholes in the law, like what happened in the Vodafone Hutch case. Vodafone created a new entity outside India and purchased Hutch from India without paying any taxes. That is, you explore loopholes. So that we will not cover anything with respect to that right now, because it is not relevant for our audience right now. Okay, so let's take example of tax planning. RIA invests in ELSS mutual funds an amount of rupees 25,000 with an intention to get tax benefits. Since ELSS comes under 80C, therefore it is a allowable expense and hence it is considered as tax planning. Tax evasion, this is exactly the example I just gave. Your PPF account, you deposit 10,000, but in your ITR you are showing it as 25,000. Tax avoidance, setting up a new company as per the, in a tax free zone. You are in the same company, you have the same company, you are forming another company. So this is legal, but at the same time, it's a method to avoid paying taxes. Let's skip this. It's not required right now. Okay, so let's move on to the next part, which is tax saving options from your own salary structure. So, if this is how a general salary statement looks like, right? Uh, it includes the basic salary, HRA, transport allowance, all these things. However, two components of these parts are very important and are often skipped by a lot of people. They are HRA and leave travel assistance. If you see, they contribute a major chunk of the salary. And if we can plan this right, we can save a lot of taxes just by HRA. So let's take HRA. Let's start with HRA. So HRA is given by your company to you for paying rent. If you are staying in a different city and working in a different city, excuse me, and you are paying rent, right? So you can ideally claim this rent as an exemption. And the exemption that is available is rent paid minus the 10% of basic salary. 40% of exemption available is the lower of these three: rent paid minus 10% of basic salary, 40% of basic salary. This will become 50% in case of metro cities, and the third component is actual HRA received. So whatever will be the least amount will be taxable. Now I have a bonus tip which I will share after this example. let's take let's go ahead with this example. Lakshmi is working with KPMG in Mumbai. Her monthly basic pay is rupees 40,000. HRA is rupees 20,000. She pays a rent of rupees 25,000 per month. How much can she claim as exemption? Let's check this out. So the first slab is rent paid minus 10% of basic. So 25,000 is the rent paid minus 10% of basic, which is 40,000. It will come to 4,000, and the first limit will you will reach at 21,000. The second limit is 50% because she is staying in Mumbai, which is a metro city. So you can claim 50% over there. 50% of basic pay, which is of 20,000, and actual HRA received is 20,000. So in this particular case, total HRA received by Lakshmi is rupees 20,000, and exemption is 20,000, which is the least of the top three of the three slabs that we have, and hence net taxable amount is zero, and overall exemption that we will claim in the year is 2,40,000. Am I making any sense, guys?
Absolutely. I did not know that HRA is such a big part of the whole salary slab. Given that most of us are paying rents or have taken a loan, this is actually crucial.
Exactly. And trust me on this, a lot of my friends, I've worked with Deloitte and I've worked with EY. I have seen my colleagues over there not claiming this. And I was like, why aren't you claiming this? Now I'll quickly take another example, or we can skip the example and directly move on to the bonus tip. So a lot of people are staying in the same hometown, where you are working. So for example, I am based out of Delhi, and I am working also in Delhi. Now I am not paying any rent, so how can you claim HRA? Over here, we can plan it and not evade it. We can plan it in such a way that we can start paying rent to our own parents, if at all, they own, or the grandparents, and claim the deduction. At the same time, also the parent should file the income tax return and show this rent paid to them as an income in their ITR. This will also show a good gesture towards each one of us for our parents or anybody. You can make this payment to anyone, but make sure you've also filed their return. Does this ring some bell?
Yeah, it does. I never thought that we can actually pay a rent or show that we are paying rent to our family members or parents or grandparents, and then show it as a tax deduction. And yeah.
Right. So that is one, but you have to make sure you are filing your parents' tax returns. At the same time, you are only paying to the person who owns the property. So if the house is owned by your mother, make sure you pay it to your mother. If it is owned by your father, pay it to your father or your grandfather or grandmother or whoever. Just I can't be too direct on this.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So let's move on to the next part. There was another example wherein the rent was going below the exemption limit. I think you understood the point. So let's move on in order to save more time and move on to the next part. Okay. So leave travel allowance. This is again missed by majority of the people. Trust me on this. I have literally seen so many people. In fact, even I used to, being a CA myself, I used to miss this a lot of times. So what happens, your employer and the government both promote that you go out for tourism. You should go out of your city. From an employer perspective, they want you to take a break. From a government perspective, they want you to go to new places and increase tourism in the country. So if for in every 4 years you can claim this deduction twice, and every salary, I mean, most, even the clients that we assist, the clients that we are working with, for their employees, we make sure that they have an LTC portion here, right? So what is the exemption that you can get? If you, so for let's take an example over here that will be easy, I think, instead of going through all this jargon. So if I, sitting in Delhi, I want to go to, I want to visit Mumbai, for example. Right now, I will take a flight from here The government gives you exemption of a flight, economy class flight. Right? I can take a flight from here and come back for me and my family. And your family includes your spouse, children, dependent parents, and siblings. So the tickets for each and every one of them is reimbursed by the employer. Employer anyways gives you that money, but if you provide them bills, it will become a tax saving option, right? A few things you need to consider here, that the shortest direct route is considered only. So if I want to go to Mumbai, I cannot go via Chennai. I'll say, I want to also visit Tamil Nadu, Pondicherry. I'll go to Chennai, I'll visit Pondicherry, and then go to Bombay. That is not how it is done. You will get it to the shortest direct route. So I will get a direct ticket from, I mean, the exemption that I can claim is from Delhi to Bombay or Delhi to Chennai for that matter, whichever is farthest over here. And so income tax has sorry yeah so income tax has defined blocks over here. The current block, you can only everybody can please go on mute. All right. So the current block that is going on is from 2018 to 2021 calendar year. You can claim this exemption twice in 4 years. So 2021 will end next year, December. So you can claim that if you have not and also again a bonus tip here. A lot of people, all of us, we travel to our hometowns. We keep on traveling. You make small travels. Why don't you utilize, if you're not getting time to go for a leave, if you're not getting time to go for tourism, why don't you utilize this particular just to go to your hometown, utilize it. Even if we save say 10,000 rupees, how is it bad? You can invest that money further. What do you think, guys? Is it getting, is it like ringing some bells, or
Makes a lot of sense to a lot of us, actually.
right? All right. Thank you, Karthik. Thank you, Sam. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. So okay, so a word of, apart from this, guys, there are a lot of other allowances, a lot of other reimbursements given by your employer, which I am not covering because one, they are small amounts. Second, a lot of us are aware about it, and generally, indirectly or indirectly, we do claim them. However, this word of caution is very important. Majority of the allowances and reimbursements could not be claimed for the lockdown period and work from home period in FY 2021. Be careful while submitting proofs. So don't go and submit your LTC proofs for long term for your leave travel concession during the lockdown period, because you will not get a deduction for this. Okay, so this is my favorite topic, and I am sure a lot of you will be able to relate to this after the next 10 minutes. How buying a house can help you save tax. So buying our house is a dream for all of us, right? And it is also one of the biggest way to make wealth. What is wealth? Tell me in the comments, guys, what is wealth? Right. So it's mostly the assets. So the more assets you have, which are generating more money for you, is what exactly your wealth is. So house property is definitely a part of wealth, right? The more properties you have, the more wealthy you become, the more financially independent you become, right? So it is a great way to build wealth. There are multiple tax benefits for anyone who buys a house through a bank loan, right? Even if you have cash lying with you, never go and invest the entire amount in a property with cash. Take a bank loan. It will solve two purposes. One, you will be able to claim all the benefits which I am going to discuss in the next slide. Second, you will not be flashed in the eyes of department. So whenever we make any big purchase, whether it is whether if you go and buy a Mercedes, or if if you are depositing a huge amount in your bank account, or withdrawing a huge amount, or buying a property with cash, as in through your bank or through cash, there is income tax department flags these PAN numbers, and they bring them under scrutiny. You might not be scrutinized today, but you might be scrutinized 2 years or 3 years from now. So to avoid that, it's better to take a housing loan. This is my tip. Okay, I mean, if you have other beliefs, that's fine. Okay, so every EMI has two parts. One is the principal, second is the interest. Now, principal you can claim as deduction under section 180C for rupees 1,50,000. That's the maximum amount, maximum cap in section 80C. And interest you can claim as deduction under section 24B up to rupees 2 lakhs. Right? So, section 24 actually covers loss under house property. We will discuss it in an example later on. So interest can become whenever we invest, in a housing loan, a lot of times we invest in under construction properties. The possession you are going to get, say, 1 year from now, or 2 years from now, 3 years from now. The deduction that you can claim under section 24 for interest is only when you receive the possession of that property. So what about the interest that you paid during the pre-construction era? Even that is allowed. You get the entire pre-construction loan, you can claim it in 5 subsequent years, divided equally. And not just that, if me and my wife jointly buy a loan, jointly take a loan, buy a house, and we are paying, say, total principal of around 5 lakh rupees. So both me and my wife can claim 1.5 lakhs each to in our tax saving under section 80C, and both of us can pay 2 lakhs each for interest, provided you have paid that much amount. It should not be that if the total interest that you have paid in the entire year is 2 lakhs, and both you and your wife are claiming 2 lakhs each. That is not allowed. It should be paid, and if you combine both the deductions of both the joint owners, that should be the actual amount that you have actually paid. Okay, so there is another perspective to it, to the entire housing loan and the house, which a lot of people don't talk about, and I really tell this to all my clients. So if you sell the house in future, this house that you bought, if you sell this house after 5 years, 5 years, because there is a restriction that entire 80C deduction you have to give it back if you sell the house before 5 years. So if you sell this house after 5 years and you made gains, right, as per Income Tax Act, this is a capital gain and has to be taxed. However, if you invest the proceeds of the gain in another house, in a bigger house, then you will that entire amount gets exempted. So the new house, the bigger house, will be all exempt from that exempt income. Not just exempt income, but also the tax that you claimed on while buying your previous house. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And after this section is over, we'll take a small pause because I think a lot of us have a lot of questions about
Sure.
house loan and taxes and everything. So, yeah. And everyone, you can think about more questions because I took a house, I think 2 years back, from a bank, and it's so burdensome to plan taxes, investments, everything, and now I don't understand if I have to pay more. So if I'm earning more some in a month, should I just clear the principal amount, or how should I go about it? So I think we have a lot of questions. So once you're done with this section, we'll take a 2-minute pause and answer all the questions because I'm sure a lot of them have it.
Sure. I think I'm done with. I was just about to take an example. If guys, do you want an example? I think we are running very short of time right now, or you have understood this entire.
I think if we can sum up this example in a short portion.
Sure. Okay.
I think this is really good because once I'm reading it on the screen, sounds really looks really.
Got it. Okay, so Sridhar pays an EMI of rupees 50,000, principal is 35,000, interest is rupees 15,000 per month, and has an annual salary of 12 lakhs. This is how the calculation will be done. Income under the head salary is 12 lakhs. Loss under the head house property will be 1,80,000, which is 15,000 into 12. Then the gross total income will be 10 lakhs 20,000, and deductions under chapter 6A, which is section 80C, 1.5 lakhs for the principal portion. Your net taxable income will come to 8 lakh 70,000. So your taxable income has reduced from 12 lakhs to 8 lakh 70,000, like deduction of 3 lakh 30,000. In addition, and also you have made another property, right? In addition to this, you have a property as well. Okay, I think we are done. We can take questions, Unnati.
Okay. All right. So, anybody who has some questions about salary, ITR, taxes, investments, you pay tons and tons of money to your lawyers and CAs, but this is the best time you can actually get a lot of advice for free. For instance, uh, what do you think is the best investment? Because usually when I go to my CA, and if I'm already owning a property and I'm paying my EMIs, the next thing that he suggests is LIC le lo. So what is the next thing that I should invest in jo grow bhi kare?
So although I will be covering it, but my favorite is ELSS, equity linked savings schemes. I will talk more about it. I think it's the next slide that I will be covering. So
Got it.
hold that thought for the meantime. I think Rajesh had a question. Could you please tell me about let out property and self-occupied property? Okay, so there are multiple assumptions. The assumption ranges from let out and that. Maybe we can take it offline. It's a big topic. It will take another 10 minutes if I start speaking on it. The only, in order to, keep it relevant for the audience, I think we can take it. So Rajesh, you can connect with me separately. I will share my contact slide in the end of this presentation, and you can send me an email and I can revert over there. Does that sounds good? Okay. When we are negotiating in a new job, what line items should we negotiate and ask for tax advantage? Okay, so Sam, this is a very relevant question. Ideally, if a company has solid team of CAs and they have a solid team of financial planners with them, they generally, for each and every employee, their salary structure ideally covers the tax planning part of it, right? So I think most of the companies are. If not, you can suggest them that instead of giving me this much special allowance, why don't you break it in multiple allowances? Why don't you break it in special in conveyance allowance, in the form of uniform allowance? You can always talk about that, but I don't think a company changes the salary structure, but that completely depends from company to company. Does that answer your question?
Oh,
Okay,
yes. I also think so that a lot of companies, like when I used to get my salary slip, they have their own divisions in place. So I think what we can be smart about is how we invest whatever we are getting rather than negotiating on the CTC. We can start being smart about our taxes by investing more and then saving more and whatnot.
right. No, but that is a very valid question. He asked Sam, because actually your components of salary, actually, that they can help you save more taxes. If so, this is what we do for our clients as well. We make sure that every employee over there gets the correct allowances. So that the employees are not paying taxes. You're not deducting more TDS for them. This is a pure tax planning, and I think every company should do it ideally. Okay, so Gauri has a question. She's asking, index funds a good investment? Definitely, Gauri. This is one of my favorites. I do invest a lot in index funds myself. Okay. let's move on. I think, does anybody has any question?
No, I think we are sorted. We can move on.
Okay, cool. Unnati, how much time do we have?
We have 15-20 minutes. Like you can go on. That's fine. This is a nice flow that is created. So we can go for another 15 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. Perfect. So, tax savings through investment. Unnati, I'll answer your question here. Okay, equity linked saving schemes. Now, this is one of the best forms of investment, saving tax, and maximizing your returns. Historically, it is proven that any investment made in equity over the long term, gives you more return. It is actually, that this equity, investing in equity actually creates wealth for you over the long term. Now, what are equity linked saving schemes? So equity linked saving schemes are basically specified mutual funds which invest in equity. I hope everybody understands what a mutual fund is.
Yeah.
Guys, let me know in the comments.
Yeah, we know, and they are subjected to market risks.
Yes, that is very important. Okay, so this is one of the best forms of investment. The return, before the COVID era, was ranging for an annualized return of 14%. Otherwise, for all the different funds I've seen, it ranges between 12 to 15%. In the long term. So always see it in the long term, guys, because equity is something that you can't. So if you see, if somebody has invested in equity based funds and they see their investment in April and the market was at the rock bottom, you will get a heart attack. But look at the market now, it is pretty much at the same level, in fact going beyond that, right? And this entire amount that you invest in ELSS can be claimed as deduction under section 80C. It has the lowest lock-in period. Every investment that you do which are tax savings have a huge lock-in period. It ranges from 15 years to even retirement. So something like NPS, we will talk about it the next. It has a the lock-in is still retirement. And on when you sell, so after 3 years, you say if you are making money, you want to sell this, there is a capital gain. And if your capital gain is less than 1 lakhs, the gain is tax free. And if it is beyond 1 lakh, the portion above 1 lakh is taxed at only 10%. Even if you are in a tax bracket of 30%, still you will only pay 10% tax over there. Dividend received from ALSS is tax free in the hands of investor. However, as we discussed initially, these are subject to market risk and it's relatively risky. Something like COVID happens again, or if market goes down, you will lose all your return at once. Even there is also a possibility of entire amount going down. But government has a lot of say in this. They have a lot of restrictions on mutual fund companies offering ELSS. Generally, the chances of that happening is very less. Okay, National Pension Scheme. So this is a pension program launched by the government. Initially, it was only for government employees. Now this is open for even the private companies. So you can invest certain portion in the NPS account, and you can claim the entire amount as deduction under section 1,50,000. The additional deduction, there is also an additional deduction of rupees 50,000, which is mostly advertised, because anyways our ATC goes bust by we put PF over there, we put our ELSSs, we put life insurances that go bust. So the best way is to use this NPS to claim deduction under section 80 CCD for rupees 50,000. So the way NPS work is that you invest money, they will form a pool and they will further invest it in equity and debt. They'll every money, entire money will not go only in equity. It's a hybrid, and the lock-in period is till retirement. Approximate annualized return that is seen is around 8 to 10%. However, once you invest, you are saving tax up to 50,000 in ATCCD and 1,50,000 in ATC. when you withdraw, that this is where, I personally am not a big fan of NPS, because this is where uh, the problem comes in. So once you withdraw, once you reach the retirement age and you are about to withdraw, that you can only first of all withdraw 60% of the entire corpus. So you invest 1 lakh, that 1 lakh has become 10 lakhs by the time you are retiring. You can only withdraw 6 lakhs out of that, and the remaining 4 lakhs will go into an annuity. Now that annuity will give you a monthly income in the form of pension, right? So the monthly income that you receive, the monthly pension, that entire income is taxable. Second, the 60% that you have withdrawn initially, only 40% can be claimed as deduction, as an exemption. The 20% will be taxable, right? If withdrawable before, okay, so if you withdraw before retirement age, you can only compute 20%, and hence, that is the entire portion is exempt. And when you withdraw in case of a death, in an unfortunate scenario, the entire amount becomes tax free in the hands of legal heir or nominee. People Provident Fund, this is PPF. This is again, one of the, I personally like it because it's one of the safest, and although the returns have gone down now, but it's still, safe investment. Anyone can invest here. Deduction is up to 1,50,000 under Section 80C. Return is approximately 7.1% at this moment. It has a triple E status. So by triple E, I mean when you invest in PPF, you get an exemption. The entire interest that you get is exempted. And when you receive, when you, after 15 years, when you take out the entire money, that is also tax free. And this has the lowest risk because it is backed by the government. However, one problem with this is that a huge lock-in period of 15 years. But definitely I recommend it. If you have some surplus and you want to keep money, park money, and you don't want to lose that money, this is definitely something that should be used. This is a small comparative. It will help you. I will not go into the details. If you want, you can click pictures of this, and we will move on to the next one. I'll wait here for 10 seconds. Okay. So strategy. What is a strategy, guys? An effective strategy is one which maximizes returns and minimizes taxes. So all the investments that we discussed have a mix of these investment, mix of all these options considered. Since these investments are all part of 80C and maximum benefit that can be claimed is 1,50,000, please plan accordingly. Do keep in mind the risk profile. Also, there is one more thing in this. I haven't talked about tax. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, so let's move on. We will also be covering Mediclaim and life insurance policy, which will again be part of this strategy. So, when I talk about strategy, everything needs to be covered. Tax saving through essentials. So there are two essentials. So by essentials, I mean is one is medical premium. Even if you don't get, a tax exemption on this, this should still be there. Especially in the era of COVID, when we have seen people paying 40 lakhs as medical bills. If without an adequate cover, you can not just ruin your financial health, but also go into debt throughout your life. You will be repaying, the money, and your health is anyways not good. At the same time, you will suddenly start feeling in everything will come on you like that. So make sure you have a Mediclaim. If you don't have, take it right now. Right. So and there are also certain tax benefits. And you can claim maximum up to 1 lakh rupees, although it is not always possible to claim 1 lakh. I will talk about that later. The reductions can be claimed in the following manner. Premium paid for self, spouse, children up to rupees 25,000. If anyone in the family as per the above is a senior citizen, then the limit increases to 50,000. And if you also pay premium for your parents, then, and your parents are not senior citizens, then you can claim additional deduction of 25,000. Plus, if not plus, but if your parents are senior citizens, you can claim that deduction up to 50,000. I think this will make more sense to you. So click a picture if you want. This will help you with everything right now. Should we move on?
Sure.
Any questions, guys?
No, I think it was quite well explained. I still don't have a Mediclaim, so this just gave me a reality check. I think most of us should have it. Like
Don't
all,
do it, Unnati. Just take it right now. Not just for yourself, but also for people that are dependent on you.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's move on. Life insurance. Now, this is again very important. If you have dependents, the life insurance policy is a must. Do not mix life insurance with returns. So this is the biggest problem with everyone is right now, that we the premium that we pay for life insurance, we want it back later on with returns, which is not possible. So a friend of mine, he came to me, he was paying 17,000 as premium for a policy of 2 lakh rupees, life insurance of 2 lakh rupees. And he was very happy saying that I will get a return later on. I said, are you crazy? What is the return? I checked the return. What he was getting is exactly the amount he was investing every year. I like, what you are actually losing money here. What about the inflation? Inflation is approximately 6 to 7%. It will keep on growing. You are not even beating the bank interest. Then what I suggested him, and I suggest everyone, that life insurance is the premium should be paid with a perspective, with the sole purpose. The purpose of the insurance is the purpose of this particular investment is life insurance. So treat it like a life insurance. Do not try to make money out of it. And there are multiple, I can suggest you ways right now. Go online and check for online term plans. You will get policy up to rupees 1 crore rupees for 8,000 rupees per annum, 9,000 rupees per annum. Take that. And the remaining amount, what you are paying right now, so I suggested him 17,000 you are paying right now. Take this 6,000, 7,000 rupees, 1 crore policy. Your cover has gone. 2 lakh rupees is nothing. If something happens to you, your family will get 2 lakhs. What will they do? How will they even survive on 2 lakh rupees? So, go and take this 1 crore cover. So 6,000 rupees, he got 1 crore cover, and remaining 8,000, I asked him to invest in mutual funds. You will get way more return than what you are getting in getting through this particular policy. Again, there is a tax benefit, but I am not in favor of tax benefit. It's an add-on. Despite of that, this is still should be done. Okay, so there are certain other deductions. I think we are running really short of time. I'll quickly walk you through. I mean, Unnati, what can be done right now? Should I just talk about them like very, very briefly?
Yeah. I think we are having enough on our plate to consume. This was
Okay,
really knowledge intensive. So yeah, we can just cover the other deductions in a small amount of
okay, cool.
time. Take some questions.
Right. Okay, so ATC we have already covered. Over here we are talking about some other things that are covered in ATC, ATCCC, and ATCCD. Interest on education loan. So if you have taken an education loan, you can claim the interest. There is no limit to it. Interest can be claimed by students or parents, and this can be claimed up to 8 years, or the repayment of loan, whichever is earlier. So do not miss this. A lot of people miss this, guys. If you have education loan, take the interest as exemption. Medical expenses are differently able, so you can claim deduction up to 75,000 or 125,000 for any dependents or self. If somebody is differently able, you can get deductions from between 75,000 to 1,25,000. I will not spend more time on this, guys. You can read about it or take a picture and read about it. Okay, tax savings on savings bank interest. This is again missed. Tax savings on savings bank interest. The government has allowed recently tax deduction of up to rupees 10,000 from the savings bank interest. Uh, and for below 60 years of age, and if you are above 60 years of age, then you get deduction up to rupees 50,000 from both savings and fixed deposit account, right? And FDs and RDs are not covered in the 10,000 interest limit. Tax slab old versus new, guys, I'll quickly walk you through. I don't think we have time to take up an example in this. I wanted to, but unfortunately the time is not allowing right now. So I will quickly walk you through the slabs. I mean, show you the slabs here and tell you my opinion as to what, which of them should be followed. Right. So this is the new tax regime. If you go for a new tax regime, uh, you can click the picture of the slab. If you go for a new tax regime, although it looks very lucrative, but you will not be able to claim any deductions that we discussed, whether it is ATC, whether it is ATE, whether it is HRA. You will not be able to claim any of the deductions there, right? These are the exemptions that are withdrawn if you opt for this scheme. Now, old tax regime up to 2.5 lakhs, there is no tax. 2.5 to 5 lakhs, it's 5%. 5 to 10 lakhs, it's 20%. And 10 lakhs and above, it's 30%. Right? Additional 4% cess is applicable on both, whether old tax regime or new tax regime. All the deductions and allowances can be claimed in the old tax regime. For assessment year 2021, the returns that needs to go out right now for last financial year, only this tax regime is applicable. New tax regime is applicable from the next financial year. I mean, the financial year that we are in, 2021 financial year, right? For 1920, it's old tax regime. For 2021, it's both old and new. I mean, you have to choose. You will have an option to choose the tax structure. Personally, I feel old regime is suitable for people, who are staying on rent and getting HRA, or are planning to buy a house or invest in Section 80C. So if you claim all those deductions, then don't even think of going into the new regime. Stick to old regime. And if you are one of those who believe that I am not the tax saving guy, what is coming in my account is fine. I don't have time and I cannot invest. If you are one of those, then you can explore new tax regime. And it can be explored only by calculating in both the ways. You have to calculate as per old tax regime and as per new tax regime. So this is a small example that I wanted to discuss. However, I think there is no possibility right now, but I can show you this particular thing. Right? Okay, so if somebody has a salary up to 8 lakh rupees, and you are not a guy who claims a lot of deductions, then very less deductions are there. Uh, the tax saving under new regime will be more. If you can see from my screen, right? And if you are someone who invests a lot in who uses all the benefits as per the income tax act, all the allowances, deductions, then old regime is better for you. If you can see in this example, the taxable salary is 20 lakhs. All these deductions are allowed, and a saving of 25,000 is seen if we calculate as per the old regime, right? I'll quickly go back. Okay. What are the golden rules that I feel that has helped me quit my job? Leaving a job is one of the thing that a lot of people dread of doing, because there are so many things on our hand. There are so many finances that we need to manage. There is an uncertainty. So what golden rule that I feel is very important is to save at least 30%. Right when I was in my job, I was saving at least 40% of my salary. I was investing that entire portion. Invest majority of it in equity. It completely depends on the age bracket you are at. So if you are somebody who is beyond 50 years, 55 years, I don't think, investing in equity will, I mean, then the a portion of investment in equity should be less as compared to investing in debt. And if you're somebody, who is young, 25-year-old, 26-year-old, even a 40-year-old, go aggressively on equity. Equity, if you see Sensex or even Nifty, if you see from the time it began till date, it has given like amazing returns. It is proven that it will give it no matter what. India is a growing country, it will continue growing. And when the country will grow, the index will grow. It's very simple. The top companies will grow. So I personally am a more of an investor guy in equity. At the same time, approximately I personally feel invest somewhere around 60%, 70% in equity, and the remaining invest in debt funds or PPFs or the safe investment FDs. Never keep money idle in banks. My bank account, if you see, it hardly has 25, 30,000 rupees. The reason is so there are two reasons. One, I am very scared about somebody stealing my money from bank account. So I keep them invested in liquid funds in other ways. And if I need money, I just have to press a button. I'll immediately get that money back in my account. And at the same time, keep your money invested, because if you have money in your savings bank account, what you are getting is 3% interest, or maybe 2% interest now. I don't know. Now, inflation is more than that. You are actually losing money over there. Keep it invested. Keep it invested at least, uh, wherein you are at least earning the interest, the inflation part. So if inflation is 6%, you should at least get 6-7% out. Always have a medical policy and a life insurance policy. All right, guys, Q&A. Thank you for your time. I really loved it. And let's begin with the Q&A part.
Great. It was a really informative session, I suppose, for all of us, because most of us are in jobs and saving money, investing it. While we are running 9 to 5, उसमें पता ही नहीं चलता है कि और क्या क्या कर सकते हैं, कि हम हमेशा क्रिप करते हैं सैलरी कम है, बट हम ये नहीं सोचते कि उसके सिवाय कितने सारे फैक्टर्स हैं जो हम कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं. सेविंग्स, इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, taking a home loan, and planning your taxes and being smart about the money that you have. I think we'll be very self-sufficient if we stop blaming organizations and everybody, salary nahi hai, HR nahi hai, ye nahi hai, wo nahi hai, and we start actually making mindful decisions about taxes and all. So I think it was a really informative session. We have one question from Gauri, which is actually I also wanted to ask: are apps like Grow safe to invest? So what do you think? Like, do you ever tell your clients that they should use apps like Grow or all those apps to manage their portfolio?
So I personally, I don't use these apps a lot. I don't know about Grow a lot. I have heard about it, but I personally feel if this app is giving you direct mutual fund access. So there are two types of mutual fund: direct and indirect. Direct and through distributors. So all these apps, they also have an agency code. They are also agents of the company. If you invest through them, uh, the returns that you get is less because the agent gets a commission on this, right? Whenever I go and invest, I go on the website. So if I want to take an HDFC mutual fund, HDFC index fund, I'll go on the site, buy the fund from there, because I know it is a direct fund and I'm not unnecessarily paying for the broker in between. So if Grow, I've heard about it. If Grow is something that gives you an option of direct investment, then I don't think there is a problem here.
Makes a lot of sense. And we'll actually share the video recording, because I've done the recording, so I'll share it with everybody. If anybody has missed any section, we'll make sure that you get the access to the recording. And if you have any more questions, please let us know so that we can help you. And yeah, and there's contact details of Mr. Tanuj. If anybody of you wants to connect with him, he's super active on LinkedIn, so you can also do that. And it was an honor having you, Tanuj. I think we have taken a lot of your time than promised, but it was really awesome to have you. Like it was the first webinar for the whole entire series, and I think we have started on a very good mark. We started with 65 participants, and we still retain 60 of them, which is the best retention rate that I've seen in the webinar. So thank you so much for making a 50 slide PPT. Shows how invested you are in making things work for us, for your clients, and in general, and you actually respect your profession. So thank you so much for your time, and we'll get back to you in case of any questions. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Unnati, and the entire team of loanwale.com. It was an honor, and I'm sure we will have more things. We will definitely work again in future. Thank you so much.
All right. So everybody who's asking about the recording, if you have registered with an email, we have your email ID. We'll send the recording to you. And we'll also upload it on our YouTube channel. You'll see the snippets of this video on our LinkedIn and various other accounts. So don't worry, you'll have access to this entire content. It was a gold mine indeed. So yeah, thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.